Before you can lead others, before you can conquer life, and before you can attract anything powerful into your world, you must first win the war within. Mastery isn't about controlling other people. It's not about money, status, or how many people respect you. True mastery is about dominance over the one person who can either make you unstoppable or destroy everything, yourself. The reality is, most people are slaves to impulse. They're reactive, they chase validation, they fold under pressure, and they run from discomfort. That's not power, that's weakness disguised as personality. Self-mastery means becoming the calm in the chaos, the unshakable center in a world full of noise. It means learning to discipline your emotions, control your focus, command your energy, and no longer let fear, doubt, or desire dictate your path. And once you master yourself, the world bends to your energy. People respect you without knowing why. You become magnetic, calculated, composed, and lethal when necessary, but never out of control. This video is a full breakdown of how to get there. 6 sections, no fluff, no cliches, just raw psychological power and step-by-step principles to help you take control of your mind, your habits, your emotions, and your energy, so that the version of you that used to overthink, chase, and collapse under pressure dies right here. From this point forward, you live like a weapon. You live like a king. Let's begin. Before you try to fix the world, win arguments, attract better people, or get everything you want, you need to face the war that's happening inside your own head. Most people walk around thinking the enemy is external, a toxic relationship, a job they hate, or people not seeing their worth. But the truth is brutal. The biggest threat to your success, peace, and power has always been you. Your thoughts, your habits, your reactions, these are the invisible chains keeping you weak. Think about how often you've known the right thing to do and still didn't do it. How many times you've reacted emotionally and sabotaged yourself. How often you've let fear dictate your silence or insecurity shape your actions. That's not life happening to you. That's your lack of self-mastery playing out in real time. Mastery starts when you stop blaming, stop making excuses, and stop chasing control over others. You turn the lens inward, you analyze your triggers, you learn what pulls your strings, and then you cut the strings. Because until you're no longer a slave to your own emotions, you'll keep falling into the same loops, fighting the same battles, attracting the same chaos, and wondering why nothing ever changes. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your greatest enemy. And the version of you that wins in this world is not the version that reacts, overthinks, or constantly needs validation. It's the version that can sit with discomfort, delay gratification, and stay grounded no matter what storm is happening outside. If you want to level up your life, stop chasing new goals and start mastering your current self. That's where everything begins. Every powerful transformation starts with one brutal truth. Emotions will lie to you, but discipline never will. You'll never master yourself if you're constantly surrendering to how you feel in the moment. Think about it. How many times have you skipped doing what you should do just because you didn't feel like it? You didn't feel motivated. You didn't feel confident. You didn't feel like starting. But that's the trap. The world doesn't reward those who feel good. It rewards those who move with purpose, especially when they don't. Self-mastery begins when you stop negotiating with your emotions and start acting from principle. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline is the weapon that keeps swinging long after the mood has left. And here's what most people get wrong. They think discipline is restrictive, like a prison. But real discipline is freedom. It's the power to control your day instead of being dragged around by chaos. It's the ability to choose discomfort now to avoid regret later. The disciplined man or woman builds a life brick by brick, while the emotional one tears it all down every time something feels too hard. If you want to master yourself, start by mastering your morning, your time, your impulses. Show up on the days you feel flat. Keep promises to yourself when no one's watching. Choose the difficult thing over the easy one, because that's where your edge is built. And stop thinking discipline is about punishing yourself. It's about protecting your future. Every moment you obey your emotions, you hand over your power. But every time you stay consistent, no matter the mood, you sharpen your edge. That edge, that's what separates warriors from wanderers. You don't rise by feeling ready. You rise by deciding you're not ruled by feelings at all. Discipline is how you gain that control, and control is how you start becoming unstoppable. Self-mastery means mastering your emotions, not suppressing them, but owning them so deeply that no one else gets to push your buttons. Because let's be honest, most people aren't reacting to reality, they're reacting to other people. Someone ignores you, you spiral. Someone disrespects you, you lash out. Someone ghosts you, criticizes you, praises you, flirts with you. Suddenly, your entire state changes based on their behavior. That's not power. That's slavery in disguise. Emotional armor is what separates the ones who bend under pressure from the ones who bend reality itself. And that armor is built when you stop assigning emotional weight to other people's actions. You must stop making their mood, their tone, their words mean something about you. Most of the time, people are just projecting their chaos, their insecurities, their wounds. Don't absorb it. Let them drown in their own storm. That's not coldness, that's power. It's detachment. The ability to hold your ground no matter who's trying to shake it. You don't have to fight every battle. Silence is a weapon. Indifference is a fortress. And composure is how you stay lethal in a world that thrives on emotional chaos. You have to become the eye of the storm, calm while everything spins around you. Because here's the truth, whoever controls your emotions controls your life. So take that power back. Breathe, observe, respond, don't react. Train yourself to smile when they expect a breakdown. Speak slowly when they want rage. Move deliberately when they're trying to rush you. That's emotional jujitsu. And every time you choose calm over chaos, you win the inner war. It's not about being unfeeling, it's about being unshakable. Let others be loud, let them lose control. You stay grounded, because you're not here to play emotional games. You're here to master them. Self-mastery doesn't come from affirmations, it comes from confrontation. Specifically, confronting the parts of yourself you usually run from. Everyone wants to feel powerful, but very few are willing to look themselves in the mirror and say, here's where I'm weak, here's where I break, here's where I sabotage everything I claim to want. This is ruthless self-awareness, the ability to track your internal blind spots before they become external problems. Are you impulsive when rejected? Do you seek validation through overgiving? Do you crumble when someone withdraws love or approval? Those are your weak links, and if you don't find them, someone else will and use them against you. Mastery begins when you stop pretending you're above your patterns and start dissecting them with surgical precision. Every habit you formed is either reinforcing your power or leaking it. Your procrastination, your addictions, your emotional outbursts, your self-doubt, they don't just happen. They're automated programs running beneath your awareness, written by old pain. And as long as you ignore them, you'll keep living the same cycle with a different face, job, or environment. So here's the practice. Observe yourself like a warrior sharpening his blade. Track your urges, interrupt your defaults, question your assumptions, audit your thoughts the way a tactician audits a battlefield. Where's the vulnerability? What triggers you? What belief keeps robbing you of discipline, presence, confidence? Then go deeper. Who did you learn that from? When did you decide you weren't enough? What version of you still thinks they need to prove something to be loved? You can't fix what you won't face. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be precise. The moment you can name your pattern, you weaken it. The moment you can trace it to its source, you take its power. And the moment you hold it without judgment, but with intent to evolve, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Not because you're flawless, but because you're aware. And in this world, awareness is the foundation of control. Mastery is never built in the moments you feel motivated. It's built in the moments you don't. When your body is tired, your mind is distracted, your emotions are screaming at you to take the easy way out, that's where the war is won. And the weapon? Discipline. Every time you choose structure over chaos, growth over comfort, focus over impulse, you cast a vote for your higher self. But here's the trap most people fall into. They believe discipline is about restriction, about becoming rigid and robotic. That's not it. Real discipline is freedom. It frees you from being a slave to your mood. It frees you from addiction to validation. It frees you from constantly reacting to life and puts you in the position to shape it. The person who masters discipline becomes unshakable because they don't wait for perfect conditions, they create them. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" They ask, "Who am I becoming every time I follow through?" That's the secret. Self-respect doesn't come from empty affirmations, it comes from evidence, and every disciplined decision becomes that evidence. When you stack those small wins, waking up when you said you would, keeping your word when it's inconvenient, sticking to your plan when temptation whispers in your ear, you start to trust yourself. You start to radiate a quiet power that people feel, not because you're louder or flashier, but because your actions are aligned. Your energy becomes clean, your aura becomes sharp, and you stop leaking power through inconsistency. Think about it. Anyone can show up once. Anyone can grind when the adrenaline is high. But the ones who show up day after day, especially when no one is watching, those are the ones who build legacy. Because they've trained their nervous system to obey their vision, not their cravings. And that's what separates the average from the elite. Not talent, not luck. Consistency. The ability to choose what you want most over what you want now. So when you're tired, uncertain, or tempted to give up, don't chase motivation, chase identity. Ask yourself, what would the future version of me, the disciplined, masterful version, do right now? Then do it, even if it's messy, even if it's boring, even if it's hard. That's how you build power. Not all at once, but one disciplined decision at a time. You cannot master yourself if you're constantly surrounded by things that drain your energy, weaken your focus, or normalize mediocrity. Your environment is either sharpening you or slowly dulling your edge, and the scariest part is how silently that erosion happens. Most people think self-mastery is just about internal discipline, but the wisest know control begins with what you allow into your world. Your surroundings shape your thoughts shape your decisions, and your decisions shape your identity. So if your life is cluttered with distractions, toxic people, passive entertainment, and overstimulation, you're building your mind on a foundation of noise. And a noisy mind can't see clearly. You need silence, you need space, you need control. Start by asking, what around me keeps me weak? What habits am I absorbing from my friends, my social media feed, my daily routines? Because every single input, every conversation, every image, every sound sends a signal to your brain. It tells you what's normal. If you surround yourself with people who complain, you will normalize excuses. If your room is messy, your mind will mirror that chaos. If your time is spent consuming low-quality content, your focus will become shallow. But if you start curating your environment like a sacred temple, everything changes. Clean your space, remove visual noise, cut access to people who drain you. Fill your world with strength, order, and inspiration. Read books that challenge your thinking. Listen to voices that sharpen your mindset. Keep symbols around you that remind you of who you're becoming. Mastery isn't just internal, it's architectural. It's about designing a life that holds you accountable even on your worst days. Think of your environment as scaffolding. When your willpower fails, the structure holds you up. That's how the elite operate. They don't leave it to chance. They automate excellence. They control their light, their food, their information, their companions. Every detail is intentional. And over time, their environment does the work for them. That's the move. You don't just fight temptation, you remove it. You don't just hope for motivation, you engineer it. You don't just grind, you elevate the space you grind in. Because mastery isn't just what you do, it's where you do it, how you do it, and what you let touch your mind. Control the inputs and the output becomes inevitable. Most people fear solitude because in solitude, the masks fall off. There's no one left to impress, no distractions to hide behind, no noise to fill the silence. Just you, your thoughts, your truth. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop running from solitude is the moment you start finding your power. Self-mastery demands that you become comfortable being alone, not as a punishment, but as a practice. Because in the silence, you begin to see clearly. You start to separate your own voice from the voices of the world. You begin to hear your instincts, your intuition, your real desires, not the ones sold to you through validation, comparison, or fear of missing out. Solitude strips away the illusions. It reveals the emotional dependencies you've been leaning on, the distractions you've been calling comfort, and the fears you've been disguising as ambition. It's the mirror you can't avoid. And once you learn to sit in it, fully, honestly, you start to become dangerous in the best way possible. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop needing approval to act. You stop reacting out of insecurity because you've learned to self-soothe, to observe, to recalibrate without external validation. In a world addicted to stimulation and chaos, the person who can thrive in silence holds the edge. That silence becomes a forge. It hardens your focus, strengthens your emotional spine, and builds your inner gravity. The truth is, every great mind you admire, warriors, philosophers, strategists, trained in solitude. They mastered the art of being alone without being lonely, of thinking deeply without spiraling, of sitting still without becoming stagnant. That's a skill most will never develop, and it's why they stay reactive, desperate, emotionally fragile. But not you. You train in the shadows. You get stronger when nobody's watching. You find clarity when others drown in noise. And eventually, that solitude turns into self-sufficiency. You no longer fear being alone. You crave it because you know it's where your strength multiplies. It's where you recalibrate, strategize, and return to the world with fire in your eyes and steel in your soul. So don't just tolerate solitude. Lean into it. Make it your sanctuary. Because when you master the silence, you stop chasing, you stop proving, and you start becoming exactly who you were meant to be. Alone, but never lost. Quiet, but never weak. Present, but untouchable. To master yourself, you must build an inner code, an unshakable personal philosophy that you live by regardless of how you feel in the moment. Because feelings are temporary, discipline is eternal. When you're tired, your code keeps you going. When you're tempted, your code holds the line. When you're overwhelmed, your code gives you structure. Without it, you become a slave to your moods, chasing comfort, giving in to urges, and losing your grip every time life throws pressure your way. But with it, you become untouchable. You wake up and act with intention, not emotion. You stop needing motivation because your code has already decided what needs to be done. This is how warriors move. This is how kings rule. Not swayed by flattery, not broken by rejection, not distracted by pleasure. Because they've trained their nervous system to follow principle, not impulse. And that's what real self-mastery looks like. It's not about always feeling strong. It's about acting strong when you don't. It's not about being fearless. It's about pushing forward even with fear in your gut. It's about knowing what kind of man or woman you've chosen to become and choosing that version over and over, every single day, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. That's the difference between those who rise and those who repeat. The weak drift based on how they feel that morning. The strong move based on their code. And if you're serious about mastering yourself, your code has to be non-negotiable. Write it down, live it, audit yourself by it. Because in the end, your emotions will lie to you, but your code won't. That's your anchor in chaos, your compass when you feel lost, your armor when people disappoint you. And the more you practice living by it, the more powerful and self-directed you become. Eventually, you don't need to chase peace, you are the peace. You don't need to chase confidence, you embody it. You don't need to prove your worth. It's in how you show up, how you speak, how you hold the line when most people fold. That's how you become a force. Not because life got easier, but because your code made you stronger. This is self-mastery, not a destination, but a way of life. If this message hit you deep, if it stirred something in you that's been waiting to rise, then this isn't just another video. This is a turning point. Because self-mastery isn't a trend, it's a transformation. And it starts with action, not tomorrow, not when it feels right now. So if you're ready to lock in and build that unbreakable version of yourself, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I don't just post videos, I drop blueprints for warriors, creators, and visionaries who refuse to settle. Drop a comment below and let me know which part of this video hit hardest, because when you speak it, you claim it. And I want to hear from the ones who are done living on autopilot, the ones who are ready to silence the noise, cut the excuses, and finally take full command of their mind, emotions, and path. You already know the world doesn't hand you strength. You forge it through pressure, through discipline, through daily decisions that no one else sees but change everything. And if you're serious about that path, this channel is your home. Stick around, there's more coming. Until then, keep your focus sharp, your energy sacred, and your standard untouchable. This is Stoic Knight, signing out.